All right, so rating all the stims in the game. We'll go from Morphine all the way down to SJ9, rated them from S through trash tier, trash being not using, S being the best. And we'll talk about what they're used for, what I use them for, if you should use them in your case or not. Starting off with Morphine. Morphine is the most basic stim in the game. If you don't know, Morphine is literally just a painkiller. All it does is, it's 2-second use time. It removes pain for 300 seconds, so it's like a golden star. Any painkiller that you use takes away 10 energy, 15 hydration. I'd call this like, I guess, an A tier stim. Like, it's something that you should have at least in your case. There are other solutions to the Morphine. There are better stims, but I'd call it at least like an A tier, maybe bottom A tier. Maybe we'll call it in between A and B, actually. Next is going to be the L1 Stim. L1 Stim is actually a really good stim. It gives you a painkiller effect for 120 seconds. It increases your endurance by 10 and increases your strength by 10. So you can run longer, you run faster, increases your stamina as well. So it's like a mini SJ6. It does take away your food and water, but it does not last very long. So this is a stim that I would consider to be a B tier stim. This is not one that I use personally. The main reason being it does not last very long. You don't get the full use of the stamina and the endurance, as well as the strength, because it only lasts 2 minutes. If it lasted longer, it'd be really good. This is good on factory to pop off spawn, because you get painkiller off spawn, strength, endurance, stamina. So factory, good stim. Anywhere else, it's kind of not really a big deal. Now, adrenaline is a really good stim that actually will increase your endurance by 10. It will increase your strength by 10. So again, you can run longer, you can run faster. It removes pain, removes contusion, and it also increases your recoil control, so you have less recoil. It's going to lower your stress resistance. This is not important, but like, it does do that. But the main thing that I use this for is the health regen. This is a budget ETG stim. We'll get into this later. The ETG is the best stim in the game. We'll talk about this later. But adrenaline is a really good solution to when you are low on health and you want to heal. You can hold an angle, pop the stim, and while you're holding the angle, it'll heal all of your limbs. So it is really, really good. Propital also does this. We'll talk about this later, but not in the same way. This is really fast healing. This does 4 health regen per second. So it's really, really good. So definitely worth using if you can't afford the ETG. We'll talk about that later. So I would call this, honestly, like in between a B and C tier stim. It's like average, you know? It does what it needs to do, but there are way better choices. Same thing with this. So it's really good. It does not last very long, but it will help you out if you don't have a lot of money to spend. Now, the next option is Propital. Propital is an S tier stim. The reason being is Propital is a painkiller like morphine. However, it has bonus effects. It lasts for 240 seconds, a little bit shorter, but it removes contusion. If you get shot in the head, you can pop this, gets rid of the effect. You get health regen over 5 minutes, so it's not as much as adrenaline. Adrenaline was 4 health, right? You see we have health regen 4 here. This is health regen 1. This will heal through dehydration or a light bleed. It's not going to heal you through a heavy bleed. It's not going to heal you fast. The main thing about it is that you are getting the painkiller effect and you're getting a slight heal. That is it. It's just a morphine that is better. It also doesn't take away your food or water, which is also nice. With the Propital, I forgot to mention, you can also use this to heal through a mule as well, because mule damage will be out-healed by Propital. So that's why it's an S tier stim. It's definitely worth using, keeping in your case. Now, the next option is going to be the AFH1 Stim. Now, this is a really strong stim. What this does is it stops and prevents bleeding for 60 seconds. It increases your health skill, which is like whatever, and you lose a little bit of water. But the main thing is stopping all bleeding. I would rate this stim, for the price, I would have to say it is probably a B tier stim. I call it B tier. The main thing is when you get a lot of heavy bleeds, like you get shot with KS-23 or like rip ammo or a shotgun and you have tons of heavy bleeds and you're about to die, or landmines, you can just pop that and it stops all the bleeding. All you have to do is heal now. You're totally fine. So that is good for the price. There's a better option we'll talk about later, but it is really good for the price. ETG Stim. This is undoubtedly the best combat stim in the game. There is no better option to save your life than this stim every single time. This would be like the highest ranking stim I could possibly ever use. It's like that good. ETG will heal you for 6.5 health every second for 60 seconds. So when you are low and you need to heal, you pop that, you hold the angle, it will speed heal you to full. If you could only ever use one stim in the game, it should always be this one. This is the best stim. It'll save your life every single time. There's a shampoo barter for it that you can do from Therapist. Makes it super cheap. If you can't afford this, adrenaline, your other option. Remember, this is 4 health a second for 15 seconds. This is 6.5 health a second for 60 seconds. It's so good. This stim, however, will tank your food really fast after it goes off. So make sure that you have a way to get food afterwards, but it will save your life. It's very good. The cocktail stim. Now, this stim is really, really troll, because what happens is you pop it and there's a chance for just a ton of bad things to happen to you. This will increase your stam recovery, your endurance, your strength, stress resistance, your charisma, lower memory, doesn't matter, lower intellect, doesn't matter, lowers attention, that kind of matters, you start slower. It's going to give you pain, the chance for that 25%, 25% chance for bleeding, 25% chance to just nuke your food or your water, and 25% chance to take 20% increased damage. Like, all these effects are terrible. So there are some benefits to the stim. It is kind of cheap, but I don't think it's worth using really at all because you have a chance to just like kind of ruin your raid. I would call this a D tier stim. However, if you obtain the max immunity skill, which I don't have yet, but I'm close, the max immunity skill allows you to have a like 90% chance to ignore negative effects. So it takes that chance down from like 25% to like 2.5% or whatever it is to actually affect you. So that makes that stim an S tier stim if you have max immunity. Without max immunity, this stim is pretty worthless. This stim also does not insta-kill you. There's like a myth about that. The only time the stim insta-kills you, there's an event for it. There's an event where sometimes it'll instantly kill you. Throughout the regular course of the game, if it's not pre-wipe, the stim does not instantly kill you. It just will make your raid feel really weird. The next stim, which I think is the most underrated stim in the game, is going to be Zagustin. This is the AFH1 on steroids. So what this does is it stops light bleed and heavy bleed for 3 minutes. It's going to increase your vitality skill, which means that the bleeds, you have less chance to get bleeds. You lower metabolism, doesn't really matter. You lose food and water a little bit faster. This stops and prevents bleeding for 3 minutes. So for the next 3 minutes, you cannot get a bleed, which is really useful. So whenever I'm low, I always pop this stim. It's in my case every single time. I pop this. It's going to stop bleeding. I can use ETG to heal me up afterwards, but it's really, really strong. I'd recommend using this in your case every single time. S tier stim, in my opinion. It is like that good. It is not a stim that I use often, but every time I need it, it will always save my life. Every single time. So that's something that I keep in mind. Now, the next stim option is going to be the Mule Stim. All right, P22 is a budget Meldonin. I don't really like this stim. I don't like stims that don't last a while because they don't do much for me. So this is a stim you can pop mid-fight, but it's not super great. This does 10% reduced damage. You get increased stress resistance, which like isn't that helpful. Increased health skill, doesn't really do that much. Increased vitality, doesn't do that much. And you lose endurance and you lose stam recovery. So like this stim doesn't really offer a whole lot except for damage reduction. So like I guess you can keep it in your case if you're fighting like a shotgun or like rip ammo and you know they're hurting you bad. You can pop that mid-fight, peek the guy, and hope it saves you for that one peek. Not a stim that I'd ever use. I don't think it's worth it personally. I'd call this a D tier stim, to be real with you. I don't think it's worth popping at all. But if you want to mess around with it, you could do that. The best non-combat stim in the game, the best all-around stim, non-combat, is going to be the Meldonin stim. The reason is this gives you 10% reduced damage taken. You get 10 strength, 20 endurance, increased stam recovery, and it just tanks your food and water a little bit. This stim lasts 15 minutes. So for pretty much the entire time that you are in raid, you are getting reduced damage taken. You get strength so you can run faster. You can run longer because you have more endurance, and you get the stamina back faster. And all it does is tank food and water. So you can bring in food and water. You should use this stim every single raid. If you can only use one stim that's non-combat, like I guess 2 stims ever, it'd be Meldonin and ETG for me. These are like the best 2 stims. This one's a combat stim. This one's non-combat. It's all around. It'll make your raid more enjoyable. You can carry more loot. You can run farther. It is so good. Without a doubt, an S tier stim. And speaking of that, boys, if you have not subbed to the YouTube Shorts channel, make sure you check that out. We have a news channel for shorts, clips, highlights, things that we do in the game that might give you some, enjoyment, might give you some knowledge, anything like that. On top of that, we have the 3 BTG Stim. This is a very underrated stim. I would use this interchangeably with SJ6. We'll talk about that later. But this stim gives you attention skill increased by 30, which is really, really good for searching stashes, containers, anything. Attention skill will increase how fast you search things. So you can do stash farming, and you can pop this stim and you'll loot the stashes faster. Jacket farming, same thing. You could actually keep it in your case when there's an airdrop and you pop it before you loot an airdrop, and then you loot faster. It's really good. It also increases your perception by 30, which means your hearing range is increased. When you pop stims to increase skill levels, they don't give you the elite perk from popping the stim to that level. But what you do get is perception as a skill. The elite perk does nothing. That's a misconception. The elite perk is useless. It actually already exists without being here. Every time you level up your perception, every level it increases hearing range. So like 50 and 51 isn't a big difference at all. It's like 0.5%. So like actually using the stim will increase perception range, which is kind of cool for like the whole time. So with that, you also get strength increased as well. You get stamina recovery. This is a good stim. It is a 4-minute duration. That's why it's interchangeable with SJ6. This is also a 4-minute duration. So you could use either one. This is usually cheaper, but you don't get endurance increase. You just get strength and you get stam recovery. So it is a good option. I have paired this with Meldonin. You could use that if you want to. It does tank your energy a little bit, but then again, you can find food and raid. But this is a really good stim if you want to use it for farming, searching containers, PCs, anything like that. So I would rate that probably an A tier stim. I think that's an A tier stim for sure. Now, the next option we're going to do is the SJ6. This is easily an S tier stim. It is absolutely broken. This stim is going to increase your max stamina by 30 and your stam recovery by 2 for 4 minutes. Now, this also will give you tremor, tunnel vision at the end. It's not a big deal. These don't really affect you at all, but they are there. Now, this stim will make it so you can run forever. It is so good. You should pop this if you have the money for it. It's about 50k to use. They will help you get to resort faster, help you get through the map faster. It is so good. Now, there is a really, really OP combo that I use every single raid, which is Meldonin SJ6. Now, the reason this combo is OP is because Meldonin increases your strength by 10, your endurance by 20, and your stam regen by 0.5. So I get increased stam regen, endurance I can run longer, and strength I can run faster, right? But skills have a cap. When I pop a stim, I'm at elite level strength, elite level endurance. They are at 51 currently. If I pop the Meldonin right now, they are going to go to level 60. That's the highest I can stim them to. So if I were to pop any other stims that increase endurance or strength, it would do literally nothing. But SJ6 does not increase your endurance. SJ6 increases your max stamina. Your stamina is the bar on the bottom left of your screen, right? So this directly increases that bar. The endurance skill also increases that bar and increases your stamina. Where is it? Right here. But they don't overlap. They overlap no skills. So when I run around with the SJ6 off, you can see it goes down pretty fast, stamina bar. But if I pop the SJ6 first and run around, it double stacks. There's no overlap here. My stamina, you see my stamina bar shot up like that? That's how much stamina I just gained. It was like a fifth of a bar right there. Now I run around. Look at how slow it drains. And it recovers so fast too. So you get like super OP, like run forever perk when you have Meldonin and SJ6. And that's because SJ6 does not overlap anything with Meldonin except for stam recovery. And the stam recovery is so good on here. So yeah, that's like S tier stim, the best combo in the game. These two together, they are so good. You could also combo this with 3BTG instead if you don't want to use Meldonin. That's fine. You're going to overlap strength here. The only thing you're really going to gain is the attention, perception, and the stam recovery from 3BTG. So like that's an option you can. I would combo Meldonin and 3BTG when I'm looting stuff, like if I want to loot crates and stashes and things like that, but otherwise it's SJ6. Yeah, it's a really good combo. SJ1 is a stim that I don't particularly use. It is like kind of a budget Meldonin. It lasts for 3 minutes. You get the endurance, you get the strength, you get stress resistance, you lose food and water, like kind of this Meldonin does, but I don't think it's worth using this stim personally. I think you're better off just crafting it in SJ6s. So I'm going to call this like a C tier stim. There's just so many stims that do it better that I wouldn't use the stim. Like even L1 lasts for 2 minutes and gives you strength and endurance, and painkiller. Like you get the SJ1 is like worse than L1 in my opinion, because L1 at least you get painkiller. That's my opinion. You can use it if you want to, but I would rather just take this, craft it in SJ6, and that's it. Now, Mule Stim, another S tier stim. You should always have these stims on you. These are required in my opinion. You should always keep these in your case, at least one of each. Mule Stim, if you don't know, it's going to increase your carry weight limit by 50%. You're going to lose some health over time. That's why you have Propital. We can Propital to counteract the 1 health, with the 1 health. And we take 9% increased damage. Now, the best part about taking 9% increased damage is I'm on Meldonin 24/7. And Meldonin reduces damage taken by 10%. So this will cancel out so that I don't take extra damage. I take 1% reduced damage. Or if I'm on Meldonin already, I can just pop the Mule, and then I'm not taking increased damage. So these counteract. So that's what I use these for. Again, Meldonin is really good with other stims. It's comboed very well. So Mule is really great to have when you're overweight. You can't get stamina back. It'll make your raids a lot easier to get out of, and you can use other stims to get rid of these negative effects. So really, really, really good stim. Now, XTG, this stim, all it does is remove the removes the negative effect from the cultist, the poison effect. I would call this an F tier stim, in my opinion, because this stim vendors for 50k, and Augmentin removes the poison effect as well, but it costs 20k. So you could literally just vendor this XTG, make 30k profit to buy an Augmentin. Do that instead. Also, XTG is a bug where if you pop it the second you go into a raid, if you have the poison, it won't actually remove the antidote. If you have to wait like a minute to pop it, it's like really weird. So I would not use the stim at all. I would just use Augmentin. And the last stim being the SJ9. This stim's like a myth. It does exist, but all it does is it makes you like invisible to thermals. I have never seen this stim spawn in raid ever. I don't think it's even worth talking about. It's a cool idea. They're like a couple mil on the market usually. I don't think it's worth paying a couple mil just for like a really niche thing that someone might have a thermal. So I'm going to call an S tier stim for the price, for a couple mil, for what it does, for how rare it is. If these are more common, I'd probably put this in like a B tier stim maybe, or like in between B and C. It'd be kind of cool to like pop them if they were like not super rare. But they literally are just so rare that I've never even seen one in raid. Must use stims: ETG, Propital, Zagustin, Meldonin, SJ6, M.u.l.e. These stims are so good. You should always have these. These are optional. Use these how you want. But my case looks like this is when I use it. I have double ETG. I have one Propital, one Zagustin, one M.u.l.e. And then I have my Meldonin and my SJ6. This is my case every single raid, every single time. I have double ETG because this saves my life multiple times. This is the best combat sim in the game. Propital for painkiller, Zagustin to stop bleeds, and Meldonin and SJ6 to like help me get around the map easier, and M.u.l.e. in case it gets too heavy. Sometimes I will also keep a stim hotkey to my rig. Like I might have a Propital hotkey to my rig. This is really good because if you ever are pretty using a med, like a stim or your painkiller, whenever you are, whenever you're stimming or medding, you can actually reload while doing it. So if I press 6 to pull the Propital out, I can right-click, install mag, and my gun's not reloaded. You can also do that if you have it hotkeyed to cancel it. So like I could start the stim, reload, and I could cancel the stim just by left-clicking like that. You also do it to heal beat as well. You can start a heal if you're damaged. You could start a heal. You can reload, cancel the heal, and the guy might push you now, and you have a full mag in your gun now. So, something else you can do. Really good. Those are the stims. That's what I'd use. So I rate them.